And greetings. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Steve Deace Show here live and on demand on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast with Todd Erzin and Aaron McIntyre. I'm Steve Deace. We are brought to you by the new movie out in theaters today, the latest offering from our friends over at Angel Studios, The Last Rodeo. Got a chance to watch that last night, finally, and I enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's obvious. It's Angel Studios, right? So, I mean, the ending is kind of obvious. Like, you went and saw The Karate Kid, not Johnny and his skull-costumed buddies. That wasn't the name of the film, right? So you kind of know what's going to happen at the end. Mm-hmm. You know who's going to kind of pull the thing off, right? The underdog story. So, going in, right? You're looking for that redemptive element. So the key is, can you hold my attention until we get there? Because I know how it's going to end. And then, since I kind of know how it will end, I may not know the method by which that how will take place. When it ultimately happens, is it satisfactory at the same time, right? Boxes checked. I mean, I enjoyed it. I will say the bull riding scenes were. I'm definitely. This is number one on my favorite bull riding movies because I think it might be the only bull riding movie I've ever seen. All right, unless you count the mechanical bull that they rode at Gillies. In the country western movie that John Travolta and Deborah Winger did when we were kids, but I don't think that probably counts, right? Okay,
I don't think so.
All right, yeah, I don't think so either. All right, and so I'm not I'm not a rodeo aficionado, but I mean they looked well filmed to me. I mean I thought they were very well done. And if you're asking Neil McDonough to be the strong silent type, you're asking him to be Neil McDonough. So he pulls that off very well. All right. So if you guys want to see this movie in theaters now with our friends at Angel Studios, get your tickets today. Angel.com/Steve. Angel.com/Steve. And Neil McDonough plays an all-time rodeo legend who, after nearly losing his life there, in his final rodeo, has to come out of retirement many years later for his grandson, who's facing a medical emergency. So it's enjoyable. It's redemptive. You'll like it. Angel.com/Steve. And we hope that you like us here at Blaze TV. And if you do, please consider subscribing. And right now you can get it for just $8 a month. What you guys are spending about a day on one of those coffees, designer coffees you all like to drink so often. All right, 26 cents a day, $8 a month, $20 off for the year so that you get all the exclusive content that we offer you guys right here at blazetv.com/Deace. That's blazetv.com/Deace. And if you use the code Deace, you'll get $20 off at blazetv.com/Deace. Finally, we are down to our final 600 copies of Richie Meets the Rainbow special Pride Month edition. You guys are going to get the book before the rest of the public does when it releases here in a couple of weeks in June, in the most demonic time of the year. Okay, and you guys are going to get the only full-sized hardcover autographed editions we're ever going to print. All right, and then I'm ever going to sign. All right, and so we're down to the final 600 or so. Yeah, it's about 600 of these that we have left. So if you want to get your copy, you can get it right now at richiemeetstherainbow.com, RICHIE, for richiemeetstherainbow.com while supplies last. Once those 600 are gone, they're never coming back, and that's it. All right, richiemeetstherainbow.com. Again, richiemeetstherainbow.com.
You using... just going old fashioned? You got an auto pen going on there?
No, I'm signing them all, brother. No. I am signing them all, and I'm stretching out my wrist and my fingers. I'm getting ready for that arthritis. It's been told to me that people are buying these from all over the country. So hey, have Anna sign a few hundred of them. Have Amy sign a few hundred of them, because let's face it. I mean, Amy has forged my signature on, as most wives have done in the past, has forged my signature on more things than I can probably count because I just wasn't there to sign. Okay, but no, I insisted, so that all righteousness will be fulfilled, right? And I thought, it's not just the letter here, but the spirit of the law matters too, right? So I guess someone who's either shared my DNA or is a sample of it could have signed it, and by extension, that's a signature from me, right? But that's the letter. That's not the spirit of the law, right? So no, I'm signing them all.
There's going to be Steve Deace blood, sweat.
There is, man.
Maybe a few tears.
I think. Listen, man. Whether it's coming in here in the middle of wasp season, and signing 2,500 books with my own hand. I mean, I am literally putting it on the line for America. I mean, I know some of you right now, like my son-in-law is about to go to the Louisiana for a month of drill in the Louisiana heat and swamp. Get out of here. All right.
They should have Father-in-Law Day for that, by the way.
Exactly.
Excellent.
I mean, who cares about that? All right, and half of his unit is deploying to Iraq as we speak.
Yeah, I'm going to that send-off ceremony this afternoon.
Are you?
My buddy's going to the Middle East.
All right, so yeah, you tell your buddy to sign these 2,500 books. All right, you tell him to do that for me. Okay.
The last full measure of devotion.
That's right. You tell him to stand in here and talk for 2 hours with killer insects buzzing around at the top of his head. All right.
This reminds me of airplanes. When Kareem is talking about, you drag Bill Lambia's backside up and down the court.
That's right. You go back and tell your old man to do that. That's right. Yes. All right. Where were we? Anyway, RichieMeetsTheRainbow.com is where you can go. RICHIE for Richie Meets the Rainbow. And one last thing of housekeeping. I got a ton of kind notes yesterday. I got one negative note. I was very upset that we did not use the occasion to mark the fallen during Memorial Day. And he may have a point, our bad on that. But overwhelming amount of notes yesterday from people who just enjoyed and had fun with yesterday's look back. It was my 25th anniversary as a full-time broadcaster. And man, there were all kinds of things I left out. We just couldn't get to everything and things that I forgot, but it was fun. And a lot of you I heard from that said you enjoyed it as well. So thank you. Hopefully you could enjoy what's coming up here next with Aaron's rundown of what happened while we were away.
What happened while we were away, brought to you by playing stupid games and winning stupid prizes. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced this morning the United States will be restricting visas to foreign government officials who have attempted to censor American speech. Rubio said in a statement, quote, foreigners who work to undermine the rights of Americans should not enjoy the privilege of traveling to our country. You've probably seen posts from influencers, journalists, or maybe you've been on the receiving end of emails from the old Twitter about how your profile or posts were reported to like the German government for violating one of their laws. Well, this new action from Rubio aims to hold accountable those foreign officials who attempt to censor American speech. The Supreme Court is declining to hear a case involving a Massachusetts student who was banned from school for wearing a shirt criticizing the Rainbow Jihad. The student, Liam Morrison, brought the case through his father and stepmother, Christopher and Susan Morrison. The plaintiffs argue that Nichols Middle School violated his free speech rights when it banned him from wearing 2 T-shirts to school with the words, "There are only 2 genders and there are only censored genders" on the front. Justices Thomas and Alito dissented, saying the Supreme Court should have taken up the case. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is blasting Republicans in Congress for waiting so long to codify any Doge cuts into law.
Elon Musk went into this Doge effort. He was getting lampooned. I mean, like they're firebombing his Tesla dealerships. Media smearing him relentlessly. His businesses suffered, all this stuff, because he basically said, look, we can't keep doing this, and we need to moderate and reduce the amount of money that the federal government is spending. And yet, we have a Republican Congress, and to this day, we're in the end of May, past Memorial Day, and not 1 cent in Doge cuts have been implemented by the Congress. I don't think there's any question that Doge fought the swamp, and so far the swamp has won. And that's just unfortunate, but I don't think you can look at this any other way.
Meanwhile, Elon Musk confirms he's not happy with the big, beautiful bill.
I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the Doge team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. I mean, like, everything he's done on Doge gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both.
Former Transportation Rear Admiral Pete Buttigieg says Democrats need to stop being condescending.
If I hear one more time, like a well-off liberal doctor or lawyer saying, that quote unquote, these folks are voting against their economic interests, I just wonder whether they've ever contemplated the fact that somebody could turn around and say, so are you. There's a condescension that is imputed to Democrats that I think we really need to deal with. so much of politics is not just how you make people feel, but how you make people feel about themselves. And so much of what they think of you comes down to what they think you think of them.
Learning Chinese today. Today's phrase is, why did you grow a beard, Pete?
皮特，你为什么留胡子？
The year is 2025, and Dr. Greasy Hair, a.k.a. Peter Hotez, is stuck in the year 2021.
We called it a respiratory virus. It was probably first and foremost a thromboembolic virus, right? It was, causing coronary artery blockage and heart attacks and strokes. And so actually one of the best ways to protect your heart health was actually getting vaccinated and keeping up with your boosters.
Checking in on King Charles's visit to Canada.
I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the unceded territory of the Algonquin and the Shinabeg people. This land acknowledgement is a recognition of shared history as a nation.
Back to Seattle for the second time in recent days. Violent Antifa degenerates tried to mess with a group of Christians gathered in a public space, this time out front of City Hall in Seattle. Discovery Institute journalist Jonathan Cho was assaulted by one Antifa degen. And finally, Ethel at Right Wing Watch clipped this from Steve's recent appearance with Eric Stackelbeck.
This is demonic levels of gaslighting. And I'm just telling you, Eric, I've worked in politics full time for almost 20 years. All right. Human nature is not capable of multi-level conspiracy theories where the entire executive branch of the U.S. government is in on something. Nobody leaked. Nobody got sold out. Nobody got betrayed. And I think that stuff comes from beings from another plane.
Here's how Right Wing Watch captioned that clip, quote, right-wing commentator Steve Deace says the Biden administration was involved in demonic levels of gaslighting that was orchestrated by Satan. Steve doesn't know that I'm going to do this, and I don't feel compelled often to clean up after his messes, but I think some clarification is probably helpful here. What Steve was actually trying to say, what he actually meant, is that the Biden administration was involved in demonic levels of gaslighting that was orchestrated by Satan. Hope that helps. And that's what happened while we were away.
I appreciate you clarifying that.
Would you like to clarify my clarification?
Well, rethinking it, I probably should have just said, I thought the Biden presidency as a whole, by and large, let's throw that in, okay, so take a drink, was involved in demonic levels of gaslighting orchestrated by Satan himself. Did I make it clear that time?
Todd, would you like to clarify?
I'm good. I think we're there. I think we landed that plane.
I mean, I don't really understand Right Wing Watch's contention. Is there contention that, listen, we don't want to share the accolades for this with hell. We did this ourselves of our own volition. I don't really understand what their complaint is, but I appreciate them helping me get the word out here. Nevertheless, this is going to be a tough ask because it's literally. Wasn't it Glenn that wrote a book several years ago arguing with idiots? Didn't
first political book my parents ever got me.
Okay. So I'm asking you guys to put yourselves in the place of absolute idiots, just absolute morons. Okay. But if you are some descendant of the Algonquin tribe and you got that statement yesterday from the King of England, what does that do for you? Because of course, like no one's giving the property back. Right? The king did not abdicate and say, bring forth the tribal chief to take his rightful place on said throne. Right? We're still keeping everything. Okay. Does anybody know? Because I don't have this worldview, and I come from a worldview where we have argued with each other for the last 500 years. How far faith without works is dead really goes. Okay. And so this idea of just, patronizing proclamation and let me tickle your ivories and tickle your fancy and here is your statement doesn't do anything for me and my worldview. So I don't understand it. Plus I didn't belong to I don't have a worldview shared by godless savages that I'm very thankful that Western civilization conquered and apocalyptoed all of them. I'm thankful for that, actually, because I'd much rather have Wi-Fi than wampum, and I'd much rather have church than sweat lodge. Okay, that not being said, though, again, this is me trying to be empathetic, as you can tell. That not being said, is this toxic empathy?
I'm not sure we're landing that plane.
Just defining my terms, all right? that all not being said, okay, irregardless, does anybody know if you are a descendant of said Algonquins, okay, that the Anglo-Saxons...
Is this like the Romans conversation? Henceforth.
Yes. Does anybody know what that did for you? I mean, does that do anything? What does that accomplish? Anything?
Well, King Charles is like...
a moron.
Well, this is just his own self-help. He's running his own therapy session, and he always has been on himself here. So as it applies to King Charles, I think there's that unique... and perhaps it is with most of them. It's not really about the them. It's always about the grand I. And so I don't expect that it's really much different here. You have all kinds of egos run amok on both sides of this equation. And sometimes it ends up in, a one big group hug, and sometimes it ends up in absolute chaos. And I don't know what... I haven't heard it. Have you heard any fallout from this one way or the other? Like, no. I haven't heard...
No. This just strikes me as just a bunch of godless leftists just handing themselves some form of self-absolution for something they don't actually require any absolution for. I mean... Because
it's about ego and psychology.
Yes, exactly.
This is going on at the same time as Donald Trump once again sent out a tweet mocking Canada and saying, you can be our 55th state again. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. They're like, King Charles, we know you're lying to us and you don't plan on giving us any of that gold that's in your crown right there, but you're not Donald Trump and we hate him, so you'll be our friend, and let's just sing sweet songs to each other. I don't know.
Yeah, all I know is that Algonquin is a fun word to say.
It is.
Algonquin.
It is.
Algonquin.
Yeah, I'm sure they were fun people for our ancestors to conquer, and I'm glad that they did.
Kind of similar, though. I want to acknowledge that we took this land from you, but we're not going to give it back.
Right.
Isn't that like another form of Thanos's or Maz?
I know.
Maz, you may think this is suffering. No, it is salvation.
It is your salvation. Yeah, again, their worldview is so demonically inverted. This is supposed to offer some kind of comfort. However, we offer no actual act of penance that will matter to you whatsoever. See, what's worse? People with the Christian worldview just saying, listen, I am very glad that Apocalypto for about 500 years was a documentary and not a movie by Mel Gibson. And I'm just thankfully glad that our ancestors, with the charge of onward Christian soldier, essentially conquered all of these savage cultures and westernized everything, and gave us the greatest dawn of human advancement under a biblical worldview and the teaching and preaching of word and sacrament that this world has ever seen since the antediluvian era. Okay. All right. Since Adam and Eve's fall. Okay. I'm thankful for that. Now, what's more insulting to the Algonquin descendants? My view, or the view of you guys, what we did to you guys was just terrible, wasn't right. The worldview I represent is awful, terrible. I'm part of systemic racism and a patriarchy here. And so here's your note. Anyway, back, hey, pass the hors d'oeuvres. Hey, wait a minute, can you guys grab me? And you look right at those Algonquins, because they're the ones serving you the drinks, and say, I'll take another martini if you don't mind. What's more insulting to you? I would think that would be the more insulting viewpoint.
This is timeless. 20th century American politics too. It's not really about the king or about Canada. Look at how the Democrat leaders have increasingly treated the black vote over the years, showing them nothing in terms of results and that level of condescension. But here we're constantly on the daily talking about which version of a race war we're supposed to get into. Yep. It's just everybody has to decide, do you like this ride or do you finally want to get off it? It's either, whether it's the black vote in America and Democrats, whether it's that nonsense you just heard in Canada. Obviously, psychologically and emotionally, people are addicted to that ride. And you're not supposed to understand it because you have a worldview that, by definition, can't.
Let's talk about Musk again. Because, again, I mean, Musk is, to me, a common grace gift from above. Now, I have no idea what Elon... Let me put a snapshot on it. This iteration of Elon Musk that we were blessed to have from October of 2022 when he purchased X until this week. I have no idea where his story arc goes from here. And in September of 2021 or September of 2022, I would have never guessed I'd be saying the stuff I'm saying right now in May of 2025, right? Okay, so I cannot change the past and I cannot foresee the future, all right? So I'm just a human being, okay? So I have no idea what Elon Musk's ultimate story arc, where it ends up. I have no idea if his Neuralink ends up being the mark of the beast, okay? I have no idea if he ends up cutting a deal with Israel and the Muslims to rebuild the temple. And okay, I've got no clue. I have no idea. I don't know if he becomes a monk. I don't know. All right. I don't know. Okay. I'm just talking about right now, what we have lived through in the now, right? From the time he purchased the largest dissemination of information platform in the world, X, in October of 2022, until right now, in my view, and I'm willing to fight you over this, in my view, Elon Musk has been a common grace gift from above. Now, since unfortunately many of you have gone to a Christian church in the 21st century, you don't know what common grace means. So let me explain. The Lord makes the rain fall on the just and the unjust alike. That there is a certain level of grace by which God offers even a sinful world out of his infinite love and mercy, even those he knows that will reject him, even those that are not called to salvation and wouldn't respond if they were. Okay, they still are given the benefits of orgasm, marriage, family, love, pleasure, significance, right? They are still given some form of joy and love and kindness and experience of significance. They're offered that opportunity in this life before they spend eternity in hell, separated from him for all of eternity, right? That's what common grace means, okay? Does he even have to do that? Could he just smite us all right away and just say, Thanos snap us, we've done this and moving on now. Let's try the planet Uranus. Could he do that? Yes, he could. But he doesn't do that because he's a God of not just mercy or not just justice, but also mercy. So common grace is even the unjust who are undeserving as rejectors and idolaters of God and his word still receive some form under his watch of benefit in this life that comes with the joys of living before they are faced with the eternal consequences of how they did turn out to live. Okay? That's what it means. So Elon Musk obviously has, he's up there. I mean, it's Elon Musk and Sean Kemp at for baby daddy of the century. Fair? Okay. I mean, Musk is a figure out of ancient history with, concubines and how many wives and how many kids and how many descendants. I mean, he's the anti-Malthusian. He is rightfully seriously concerned about the population winter that we are in, the demographic winter we are in the West, and he is bound and determined with his individual seed to do something about it, right? So I'm not saying he's a godly man. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is he clearly was used by God as an instrument of common grace to give us an opportunity to succeed in this cultural war, this spiritual battle that without him we likely would not have won, even this last battle. Everybody okay with what I said thus far?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. It took 6 months and we demoralized this guy. Now, I think we need to discuss why. And why we're here. And let me add this. I saw right before I jumped in the shower when I got home from the gym, I saw Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't know if you guys saw this. She posted that she has been given a draft of a bill.
Oh,
a standalone bill.
This.
Okay.
Yeah,
she
a rescission.
A standalone bill to codify the Doge cuts into law. And she has been given a draft of it, that they would vote on this separately. Okay. So I have no idea how that will turn out. I don't know if that's a scam or not. Again, I don't know the future, but I do think we should just report that as breaking news as a corollary to what we mentioned before. All right. That all being said here, I think we need to understand the real problem is not Donald Trump did not exert as much influence as possible. I mean, based on what's going on in the Senate right now, where you even have Rick Scott going on Charlie Kirk's show yesterday saying, I'm a no vote. So there's clearly going to have to be some extra our buddy Ron Johnson is saying right now, I'm a no vote. Aaron had that clip yesterday. All right, there's going to need to be some more negotiating of this bill on the Senate side. And as far as I'm concerned, senators should our senators should negotiate to get the best deal they can. But in the end, I think they should vote for it. And I think there's a few reasons why. Number one is to defund Planned Parenthood because that is a righteous act. And it would finally be done once and for all. Number two, I think there's enough good things in the bill. Did I say there were only good things in the bill? Is that what I said?
No.
But I said that I think there are enough good things in the bill that I do think that you could threaten to weaken Trump's standing in how he negotiates things like Iran, Ukraine, tariffs, by having him, meaning that what we would get out of voting against it and defeating it, and what would come after that, I just don't think the chances that it would be so demonstrably superior that it's worth risking Trump's standing and stature globally with his political capital. I just don't think what we would get is so much better that it is worth that risk. You may disagree, but that's my analysis. What's the name of the show? Steve Deace Show.
Over your shoulder,
so guess who gets to do that kind of analysis? Me. And on your show, if you have one, or your platform, you have a Facebook page, you can make your own analysis. But my analysis, and I'm pretty damn confident in it, is whatever would come after this, because we're already halfway through this year. All right, whatever would come after this, I don't think would be so demonstrably superior that in the time it would take to craft that and get there, okay, it is worth costing Trump the kind of capital this defeat would cost him, so that now he looks weak in the eyes of Putin, he looks weak in the eyes of Zelensky, he looks weak in the eyes of China, and he looks weak in the eyes of the Ayatollahs. I just don't think it's worth it. I just don't. So to our senators, go out there, Ron Johnson, Rand Paul, go out there, negotiate Rick Scott, go out there, negotiate a better deal and the best deal you guys can. But in the end, we got to make a deal here, in my view. That's where we are. In my view. And I get paid to give my view. And that's what it is. So let me give you my view on what the real problem is and who really let Elon Musk down. We did. For decades, we've been at this on our side, before any of us even knew what an Elon Musk was. And we are so used to just accepting demoralization now. It's just our base default setting, and we have nowhere else to go. And, you know, incumbents are reelected at about a 92% clip. I've talked for many years. On the left, they're conditioned by their institutions for long marches through the institutions. They're trained for them. We're not. Our families don't disciple that level of perseverance, and Lord knows our Pottery Barn McChurches sure as heck don't do it. And so we're up to, it's instant gratification for us all the time. And so what I can just tell you is someone that spent a lot of time organizing our people, particularly evangelicals. If there is a mass event, our people, you can organize them and they will show up. A march on Washington, a presidential election. If you inspire them, our people will show up for like a D-Day level event. But the idea that they're going to go island hopping, nope. And I think that's one of the reasons our people love Trump so much, is they see him as an atomic bomb. They can just drop on Nagasaki and Hiroshima and then kind of end the war right there and save us all some time and further carnage. The problem is this swamp goes way deeper than Hirohito and Tojo, folks. And this is a swamp we allowed and dug in ourselves. Guys, we just had a must-win election. One generation voted for Trump. Ours, Todd, Gen Xers. The generation that has lived through the cultural hijacking. We are the only generation that voted for Trump. Now, Aaron's generation, there was quality gains among young men, but they still didn't vote for Trump in mass. And boomers, Trump's own generation, didn't vote for him. They tied. He lost 5 points of boomers from what he got in 2020. Think about this. The entire country, every state, moved further Republican than what it was in the last election that had not happened since 1980, and Trump pulled that off by winning one generation, ours, Gen Xers. Why ours? Because we are the generation that watched the cultural hijacking, that saw when we came into 9th grade, we still had Christmas programs at school that sang Silent Night, and by the time we got into 12th grade, we couldn't do that anymore, and now we were having winter break. We lived through all of that. So we understand the urgency of the moment. We didn't either make this happen like the boomers did or allow it to. We're the generation that it happened to. So yes, our alert level is higher. But we just don't have the critical mass to take many of these Republicans out in primaries. We don't have the funding for it. We don't have the candidate pool for it. They're a reflection of us. They are a reflection of us. And because of that, you can demoralize an Elon Musk in 6 months, not just look a gift horse in the mouth, but devecate into it. And it has also caused a shift in how I even do this show. And if you guys don't mind, I want to talk about that when we come back. All right, stay tuned. So you guys have heard me talking about Patriot Mobile for a while now, and you probably already know that for years, they have stood in the gap for what we are fighting for on shows like this. That's why they've been sponsoring shows like this. So let me ask you a question. Why haven't you made the switch to Patriot Mobile? If the answer is no, or I'm worried about coverage, don't be. Patriot Mobile has one of the few cell phone service providers that operates on all three of the major networks out there. Or maybe you haven't joined because you think making the switch can be painful. Not necessarily. I mean, they made it easy for me. I know they've made it easy for so many of you. Maybe you think you're still locked into a contract. Right? I mean, they can customize it for you. Change your number, switch your number, keep it, change your phone, upgrade it. But maybe you're still locked into that contract. Not a problem. Patriot Mobile has a contract buyout program for up to $500 per device. So again, folks, they want to make it as simple and easy as possible for you to join them and help build the parallel economy together. So what are you waiting for? It's time to join Patriot Mobile today. Support faith, family, and freedom with every call and text you make and receive. Don't wait. Do it today. You can do it by going to patriotmobile.com/Steve. That's patriotmobile.com/Steve, and use the code Steve to get started with a free month of service. Code Steve to get started with a free month of service at patriotmobile.com/Steve. Code Steve at patriotmobile.com/Steve. Okay. So, Musk speaking out a little bit more now. And, well, some of my friends are, Trump should have used more of his political capital to move up the cuts, get deeper cuts, make sure Doge was quantified or codified. Again, now we are hearing from Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene that they are planning a separate vote on a bill that she has seen a draft of to codify the Doge cuts into law. Here's the thing we don't know. Was that being planned all along? Is that something they've just worked up in the last few days because Musk is speaking out and they are kind of caught with their britches down? We don't know the answer to that. Okay. But that is something to keep in mind. Another group of my friends this is why we've got to get more active in primaries. I mean, we have so many Republican congressmen that need to be primaried. And there may be truth to both of those things, but I think in many respects they are symptoms. The real problem are the people. I mean, none of these people obtained any office without somebody voting for them, correct?
Right.
That meant that some critical mass of our neighbors and countrymen gave them some form of consent to rule on their behalf, right?
Yeah. Every election. And I haven't talked about this in a while, but I said after the 2022 election, that's why that election broke me so much. Because if there was ever an election for all-time anti-incumbent fervor after what we had been through, the amount of lies and scams between 2019 and 2020, from Russia collusion to the scamdemic to the toxic genetic serums and the mandates. I mean, these are three. They tried a complete scam to impeach a duly elected president. They then concocted a scamdemic for an unprecedented power grab. They then stole an election in broad daylight. And then if you dared in protest to sit in Nancy Pelosi's seat on January 6th, put you in prison for it. And then after that, they waited until after their CDC director, Rochelle Walensky, went on TV and admitted finally, after months of lies, finally went on TV and admitted that the jab doesn't work. And even people that are getting the jab now and have taken the jab can get COVID and spread it. They waited until she finally admitted the truth after months of lies to then impose a mandate saying you had to sign up for our human trial and risk a myriad of future health potentials, including death, for a substance that doesn't work or you can't work. Now, you would think after those, and that's after, by the way, mask your kids, have your graduation, your weddings, your funerals never take place. Your parents, grandparents die alone. You never get to say goodbye, right? You would think after all of that, we were set for a real humdinger after that, right?
Like, you would think we were like one step away from, we got to stop people from lock and loading and going to the streets. You would have thought that's where we were. And then, like, what was it, like a week or two before the election, Biden stands up in front of a red curtain like he's doing Triumph of the Will 2022 and shakes his fist while slurring his words. All right? Like some kind of Mel Brooks impression of the Fuhrer. Just to further antagonize people all the more, one last drop. You would have thought this was setting up for an all-timer, man. An all-timer of rebuke. And I show up down there in Dallas, I got the Tiger Woods red shirt, ordered in the Tubbo corn. By the end of the night, Michael Malice is about to call the police on Jason Whitlock for assault and battery. Glenn Beck's about to fire me. I'm about to just quit my career. Only one of those things is a slight exaggeration. Okay, this all happened live in real time. Because we were all simultaneously traumatized by the fact, oh crap, the people are the problem. They didn't show up. We already have 92% of incumbents get reelected every cycle on average as it is. That ended up being the most pro-incumbent midterm election in like modern American history. The one that should have led to the most fury. No lockdown governors lost. Nobody paid a penalty. And I jumped on the plane to come home. And like I had just heard Carl Lewis attempt to sing the national anthem, said to myself, uh-oh. And so we have changed our approach on this show since that election. Because ultimately what Musk is really demoralized by, and he may not even realize it. I don't know Elon Musk. I have no idea. I don't know if he's personally disappointed that Trump didn't do more. I don't know if he thinks the Republican Party is a waste. I don't know if he thinks Republican congressmen are a bunch of lying fools. I don't know if it's a combination of all three. I don't even know if Trump and Musk have actually cut some kind of a deal for Musk to go out and say these kinds of things. Because I will tell you, I found it interesting. I mean, Rick Scott is appearing on pro-Trump media to say, I'm not going to vote for the thing. There's a part of me that wonders, is this kind of being done in a way to actually negotiate a better deal? I don't know the answers to all these things, okay? But what I do know the answer to is the real cause of Musk's demoralization is the people. We are corrupted at a molecular level as a culture. Some of it is not our fault. We are sinners. And we require institutions to make us better than what we are. That is why, Jesus established a church. Yes, I'm a full believer in the individual relationship we now get to have with God, that we get to now boldly approach the throne of grace. The veil has been torn. We need no further intermediary. We have an intermediary in God himself, Jesus Christ, now, sitting at the right hand of the Father. But he also didn't just say that, and you know what? That's good enough. No, he established a church, a kingdom, a community, because we do need more interaction, especially in this flesh. And one of the things that we need a church and a community for, iron to sharpen iron, accountability, discipleship. We're soft. Now we're starting to get a little tougher, which is why, for some of you that are upset about the Andy Iskers and Joe Webbins of the world, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I'm out here like, Hosanna, everything those guys are saying. But I got to be honest with you, as I always am. I spent the first 20 years of my career trying to get the church to hit puberty. Okay? And granted, hey, dude, when you were in the midst of puberty, and like those first masculine instincts are coming through, and the first notions of masculine initiative and aggression are coming through. You guys behaved completely perfectly with complete temperance, and you guys had it completely under control, didn't act out, lash out, didn't say anything you regretted, do anything you regretted. You guys were just completely ready for full manhood by the age of 14, right?
That was not my experience.
No, how about when you're like 24? Were you completely ready for it? 24, 34?
Not then either.
No, that's not human. That's not how this works. Which is why I'm not overly eager to now say to some of those guys, hey, pipe down over there. Simmer down. Because we spent 20 years waiting for someone's voice to change. We're all out here singing Jesus is my boyfriend in sweater vest and pleated khakis. And that's when we don't have on the Hawaiian shirts. So I'm not saying I agree with everything all those guys say all the time, but I'm going to need it a little bit more than somebody's panties got in a wad to say, all right, guys, time to rein this thing in. Because we're frankly not even close to the level of radicalization in the church that this is going to take to turn this thing around. We're not even close to it. At best, it's the day your son comes down the stairs and he still looks like your little dude, but all of a sudden he says, morning, Dad. He's like 13, okay? You'll have that one day with Ben. He'll come down the stairs. He'll still be 12 or 13. You're in that in-between stage. Is he going to sit on my lap, or are we going to fight?
I was just thinking about, in your case, I'd gone to a couple of poker nights, and
yes.
Noah was around, and he still had the
yes.
young kid's voice, and then I went to your house for something. He answered the door. Hey, how's it going?
Yes.
Really like that. I'm not exaggerating.
That's essentially the stage that we are at in the church. All right. Some of us are just beginning to realize we need to become men. We got to have to hit puberty here. The kinds of things that our ancestors, the people who founded, and framed this country, some of the ways they would have responded to the wickedness just in our midst that we're kvetching about, I can't tell you. If I said it on the air, the entire platform would get removed from every device that matters. I'd cost hundreds of people. There's hundreds of jobs that are at risk every time a microphone like mine goes on. And I'd blow them all out of the water. Every kid's college fund. Dude. You know Thomas Jefferson? I'll just give you one. For fun. Unlike Pam Bondi, I'll give you a down payment. What one? I'll give you one. You know Thomas Jefferson thought sodomy in the military should be a capital offense? True story. Thomas Jefferson thought sodomy in the military should be a capital offense. Right now, one of the best cabinet members we have is a homosexual named Besant. Okay? Still number one in our homosexual Treasury Secretary power ratings, if we do say so ourselves.
Is there anybody on the list yet?
It's a list of one, but he has been impressive, if we're being honest. Yes. No, this is not a time for, okay, that's too far. We're not close to too far. That doesn't mean everything we're doing is okay. It doesn't mean people aren't saying stuff that is stupid or bad or evil or dumb. But if you're already at the stage of, all right, it's time to calm things down, let me just tell you, you've already lost. We can get smarter, we can get more prudent, more discerning and wiser and more clever. I'm fine with that. But this is no time to say, simmer down out there. Quiet down. Pipe down. Oh, no. We're just beginning to find our voice. Some peach fuzz has come through. Ain't no one got a beard yet, except maybe Pete Buttigieg. You know what I'm saying, G? And so this is why we've changed our approach to this show, even all the more. We've always been a biblical worldview show, but you guys have noticed the last few years I've spent far less time doing interviews with primary candidates and stuff. We used to do this for years and years and years. It's just, we don't have the critical mass for it. As a people, we don't. This is why we're doing books of the Bible. Now we're doing maybe the hardest book of all the New Testament, verse by verse. We're well over a year into this. I did some math. I think it's gonna at least be next March before we finish. At least next March, maybe longer. How many of you go to a church that would take 3 years going through a book in the Bible? We're doing it as a talk show that has to sell ads and doesn't have people donate to us and tithe. No, we're not even close to tough enough. We're still at this is a football stage, man. We're still trying to show we're still looking in the mirror waiting for that first piece of peach fuzz. We haven't gotten our first period yet, guys. We're not even close. And so for me, the way I look at the political system is I don't look at it aspirationally at all. I am simply just trying to preserve as much Americana as I can for both you and yours and my grandkids and kids. That's all I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to stall, and then teach and preach as much of the word as I can to do whatever I can possibly do for what I think we are really going to need here, and that's great awakening level of revival, and without that, bust. The hole is too deep. It took a generation to dig us into the swamp that we're in right now. It's going to take a generation to dig us out. And we just don't have that critical mass right now. We just had a must-win election. Let me repeat this. And I probably can't say this enough. We just had the average Fox News viewer is 69 years old. That generation didn't vote for Trump. The people who don't watch Fox anymore because they think it's soft, stupid, ridiculous, Team GOP talking points, my generation, we did. We just had a must-win loser leave town match of an election where they frickin' shot our nominee in the face on live TV. After they just let in 21 million illegals, maybe that high. One generation voted the right way. And it was the one generation that has lived through the cultural hijacking of of the last 30 to 40 years. Gen X. No other generation did. No, we're not close to the critical mass of political solutions. Right now, we're just fighting for our right to survive. You guys have any thoughts on that real quick before we get out of here?
You know, I agree with you. And this dovetails nicely with where we started with this. The Canadians will sit there and listen to that because they like the ride. They don't want to get off. Democrats and the black vote, same thing. Too many people still like the ride. And here, Republicans. And this is where Elon Musk is different. First with the Democrat Party and now with the Republicans. He's getting off that ride because he thinks both of them are stupid. But most people on the right, not only do they like the ride, but the minute you suggest to get off, as I've said before, they resent you even making them look in the mirror like that. And you know that's true. Their cipher, ignorance is bliss.
Amen. Perfect analogy. All right, when we come back, it'll be your turn. We're going to play Buy, Sell, or Hold, and we'll be joined by the prophet of woe and lamentation, although I think I just gave you a bit of a down payment on that. He'll join us here as well next hour. Stay tuned. Here with Hour 2, live and on demand on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. Steve Deace here with Todd Erzin, Aaron McIntyre, and all of you. And you can let us know what you think about what we think via the stevedeace.com inbox by emailing us, steve@stevedeace.com, DEACE. Like us on Facebook, MeWe, and Gab. You can follow me at Steve Deace Show on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Don't forget to also please subscribe to our new YouTube channel at Deace Show on YouTube, at Deace Show on YouTube, where we are getting just as many views with about 14,000 subscribers as we've got for years during the scamdemic with over 50,000, which can only be explained by they were censoring us to stop us from sharing the truth with who knows how many people that needed to hear it. Somebody should do something about that. You can also, please leave us a 5-star review on the podcast platform of your choice. Thank you to the tens of thousands of you guys that have done that for us now. You can also please hit subscribe, or if you're on Apple iTunes, follow. And that's how you'll make sure that every time we do a new episode, it's there in your feed every single time. And thanks to all of you that have done that too. And thanks to our friends over at Miracle Made. I cannot give one of our advertisers a better compliment than when I go out and get more of their product out of my own pocket. And, the wife and I finally decided, we've been using these same, we obviously wash them every now and then, but we've been using these same Miracle Made sheets that they gave us, what was it, 22, 23 when they came on? So it's been 2 or 3 years,
sure.
Right? All right. We thought, maybe we should have more, more than just one set. So we went out and bought more. Man. Guys, I'm just telling you. Like this morning, I didn't want to get up, man. It was so comfy. I love these sheets. I do. All right, I have 3 speaking engagements in the month of June, which I love going out and doing those things. I love getting a chance to see the people in person and meet as many of you as I can. That also means it's going to be several nights in June without those Miracle Made sheets I love so much. So if you want to develop maybe a borderline idolatrous crush on your sheets, all right, so you too can become they're called Miracle Made, so that's right. That's okay. There's nothing idolatrous. It's a miracle. It's a miracle, right?
God works in mysterious ways, Steve.
Indeed. Even through maybe perhaps these sheets with silver infused fabrics inspired by NASA. Why do I love them so much? Because it's not just that they're comfy, but that fabric just helps you conquer your thermoregulating all night long so that you are sleeping at the right temperature. So upgrade your sleep right now. Go to trymiracle.com/Deace and get your Miracle Made sheets today, whether you're buying them for yourself or a gift from somebody you love. If you use and you can save over 40%, by the way, just by going to trymiracle.com/Deace. But if you use our promo code Deace at checkout, you'll get a free 3-piece towel set, save an extra 20% as well. You can't beat that deal, folks. Go to trymiracle.com/Deace. Use the code Deace. Upgrade your sleep today. Trymiracle.com/Deace. Code Deace. Save over 40% off at trymiracle.com/Deace. Code Deace. All right. Oh, one last thing, too. I mentioned at the top of the show, we are down to about 600 copies of our autographed, full-size commemorative Pride Month edition of Richie Meets the Rainbow, which you can get yours before the rest of the country gets the soft cover editions when it hits retail later in June. So if you want to get one of those 600 copies signed by yours truly before they're gone, go to richiemeetstherainbow.com, RICHIE. That's richiemeetstherainbow.com. That's richiemeetstherainbow.com. All right, let's get to buy, sell, or hold. Aaron has submissions from you that Todd and I have not yet seen. Aaron has selected submissions from you that he will then submit to us. And then Todd, you and I will determine whether we're going to buy it, we're going to sell it. We are permitted to hold, but that is considered such an act of self-emasculation that it must be punished. And in an emasculating way. I mean, frankly, you need to be humiliated. And so if you use the hold this week, then you not only have to listen, but also transcribe a private conversation between Pete Buttigieg, the Rear Admiral himself, and Grindr's client of the month every month, Lindsey Graham, as they discuss their favorite beards.
What's it say that that's one of the more negotiable ones you've offered in quite some time, but still no.
All right, let's go, Aaron.
We're going back to Brutus, who says in EA Sports College Football 26, Steve and Aaron should both create a player in Road to Glory mode named Todd Erzin. As they play through Todd's college career, they can both give updates, possibly with video highlights, about Todd's progress in a new weekly segment.
And I think there's NIL in the game, right?
I think this version, yeah, there's going to be NIL.
And so, Todd can negotiate his NIL deal.
See, I think...
I love this idea.
What I would do is I would have Todd's character accept an NIL offer, and then 2 weeks later, and then I'd have Todd's character go jump in a pool.
I was just going to say that with the head coach, like what happened to Dan Lanning at Oregon.
2 weeks later, just go off for a better NIL.
Did you see this? So this kid, this high recruit, did this commitment video with Dan Lanning, the Oregon coach, and they both jumped in the pool together. All right, so this is a 40-something-year-old man.
Circa, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It was at a sports bar there in the Circa Sports Bar in Vegas, which is like the largest sports book in the world. So they jump into the massive pool at the Circa, all right, and put out this video, and it goes viral. 17 days later, the kid decommits to take a better NIL deal somewhere else.
Nothing about college football, absolutely nothing, makes you smarter or more ethical. And we just had a conversation. The people are the problem. Are we prepared to change? I submit this to you. The answer is clearly no. And listen, the Democrats who are now, people like Pete Buttigieg who are head in their hands having these conversations. What do we do to be less condescending? How do we reach out to the people? One of the places that they have brainstormed that they have to reach out to the young men who are giving up on the left, and statistics apparently are showing have gone to the right. They're actually realize that this one of the ways they have to reach out to them and advertise to them is through video games, because these people, there's all kinds of people. They're not on the right. They think leftism is insane and stupid, but this is what they're doing. This is what they think is important to them. See, we're not really serious about the people are the problem unless we talk about this kind of stuff. But these are the places you can't go. This is where Cypher says, no, ignorance is bliss. Todd, stop it. I get to play hours and hours and hours on end as a middle-aged man of video games. Sure you do. Okay, good luck with that.
I'm going to have Todd commit to Wisconsin and then 2 weeks later decommit and join Iowa.
Yes.
NIL offer.
Yes. And it'd be funny, just one day this summer, just come in and the montage is just a detailing of the travails of Todd Erzin's character on your NCAA football game and his manipulation of the NIL system.
Yep.
I love it. Love it.
Next, I'm going to change this just a little bit to make it less wordy. J.K. Sellers says Trump should absolutely weaponize the Department of Justice in order to sick it on his own Republican Senate in order to get them to vote correctly on whatever he wants them to vote for.
I'll let you take this one first.
Well, specifically, I will sell, but generally speaking, I will buy in that more Wild West, Jane, you ignorant slut tactics to get the good, the true, and the beautiful done. I am for. So I have nothing against this theoretically. Specifically, I don't think you have this applied correctly, because it's one thing to say, as Steve did, and genuinely I'm pretty sure I agree with him about ultimately defaulting to this bill and why it's important to pass it. But this isn't do whatever Trump or anybody wants. This bill is perfect and holy by any stretch of the imagination. So I mean there are really good men who I know we on the show consider the best that the Republic currently has to offer, and quite frankly would stand with the greats this Republic's ever had, who just like, this is, sooner or later, we got to break this cycle. Maybe it's not this time, but we can't keep doing this. We do have to get off this ride. It might be a grown-up decision to say, right now is not the time to get off the ride. So I think specifically, I'm going to have to sell, but not because I don't think that this is a tactic that I disapprove of. I just think its current application might be flawed.
I thought that was an excellent answer overall, so I will second. Although I don't discount anybody's level of frustration that this is your sentiment. I whatsoever. I don't do that either. But I think the nuanced answer that Todd gave there, I think, is vital. Here's what I would also say, though, from a moral standpoint. I am way more comfortable with the idea of weaponizing the Justice Department to first and foremost go after the people that literally tried to hijack in a couple of elections and an entire country the last few years, if not much of the civilized world, like Anthony Fauci.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, like Francis Collins.
Not to mention
people that are
yes.
guilty of absolute atrocities. The coward, the fecklessness and the duplicitousness of many Republicans is tragic. But to me, if we're going to take the hit with exhausting that level of political capital, then I think we ought to target first the most obvious evil we possibly could and spend the capital on that. I would not try to do anything nuanced with that level of political capital. I'm going to take something that is cut and dried, black and white. Everybody is compelled to be forced, here I can stand, I can do no more, choose ye this day whom you will serve level of clarity. And I'm going to exhaust that amount of political capital that what you're suggesting would cost on that is what I would do.
Yeah.
Next up, we go to Met in the USA, who says, rest in peace, Doge.
For now, I'm going to sell. Because a lot of people are very upset about this. And let's see what happens with this draft of the bill that Marjorie Taylor Greene talked about. Okay? For now, I'm going to sell.
I'll buy, even if this bill goes through. It just took a singular human being with the singular level of rallying the kind of talent that he did to, along with Trump in a particular moment when he was willing to allow that level of passing the baton to somebody else who was going to get a level of attention. And can't have good things. So I think, I'll buy.
Next, we go to G. Harmon, who says the danger isn't Elon Musk being demoralized by generic congressional Republicans. It's him becoming antagonistic to the Trump administration. A billionaire with a grudge, a clear target, and a lot of investment in AI could make a heap of trouble.
I don't think you can dismiss stuff like this. I mean, listen, Elon Musk put an entire empire on the line, not solely because, but the MacGuffin of it was that the Babylon Bee got banned, for posting parody. Okay, about, gender, stuff. Musk believes the spirit of the age robbed him of his own son. Okay, because they transed his own son against his will. All right. So if you're compelled to act, I think we need to see Musk as something that in our era we're not accustomed to. All right, but alpha males are what made and built America, and they weren't all Christians by any stretch of the imagination. Not all 56 men that signed the Declaration of Independence, knew the difference between a Westminster Confession and the Westminster Dog Show. Okay, most of them did, but not all. I mean, there's theological disagreement even within a predominantly Christian culture at the time. And so, again, because we look at masculine aggression instantly as some form of would-be oppression, but the idea of the alpha male whose instinct is, I'm going to break you because I can and it's Thursday and I want to. I mean, we're not accustomed to that.
See our previous video game discussion.
And so, if Musk could be propelled by something that hit him personally, like what happened to his son, to weaponize politically in one direction, I think what G. Harmon is hinting at here is by feeling like he has been personally stung and betrayed in another direction, that could potentially do the same. And I don't disagree with that. I mean, I don't. And that's where you have to trust, frankly, Trump and his art of the deal and his ability to maintain relationships with people. But I will buy, because I just don't think you can holistically write this off as this would never happen. I don't agree. That's idealistic, naive.
Trump responding just within the last few moments to Elon's criticism of the big, beautiful bill. Quote, I'm not happy about certain aspects of it, but I'm thrilled by other aspects of it. That's the way it goes. It's very big, but the beautiful is because of all the things we have, the biggest thing being the level of tax cutting that we'll be doing. We'll have the lowest tax rate we've ever had in the history of our country.
See, that right there, that is a great confirmation of what I just said. I'm just going to tell you right now, the Trump we covered in his first term would not have been capable of that statement.
Yeah, generally, I agree.
I mean, the minute that Musk indicated any level of disappointment at all would have come out guns a-blazing, okay? I mean, that is a level of nuance and, maybe nuance is a sufficient term. Cleverness, okay? That just wasn't there in the first term.
Patience.
Yep. And it also, by the way, again, it just kind of makes me wonder, Rick Scott showing up on very pro-Trump platforms to indicate he's not going to vote for the bill after spending the last 2 years also trying to, win Trump's favor to run for Senate Majority Leader, makes me kind of wonder if some of this is, we got some things we could negotiate better, and so let's see if we can get some of those things out better negotiated in the Senate, and then we'll hammer it out in a conference committee. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Okay. I wouldn't necessarily. And again, that is the level of nuance. We used to always say there's no such thing as four-dimensional chess, because in the first term, it was just hammer meets nail. That's just all it was all the time. Okay? There's a level of polish and nuance here. At the same time, he's more based and more right on his messaging, in terms of direction, on his messaging than he ever was in his first term either. So I would just let this all play out on this stuff a little bit longer.
Yeah, I don't think Elon's going to be petty about this. The left is still the left to him, and he thinks it's gone nuts. So I don't think it's out of the question, like Steve, but I don't think it's likely based on just this. He's going to be disappointed, but he's not going to suddenly go rogue on the right either.
But I will say this. Let me just add this. In the annals of dumb, feckless things the Republican Party has ever done, turning a guy from, before we came to the Blaze, we belonged to a company called Conservative Review. How was Conservative Review started? Conservative Review was started by a very wealthy man who was one of the largest bundlers for the Republican Party, donor bundlers during the Tea Party wave of 2010. Had John Boehner in his home as would-be speaker, making promises to him, and this donors went maxed out every network he had to help the Republicans take Congress in that Tea Party wave, only to have them keep exactly none of the promises that they had made him. This donor's response was, screw these guys. And he looked at much of the conservative media landscape at the time, and really, aside from Breitbart, everything else was basically heavy petting and slurping of the Republican Party. And so on purpose, he started an entity and called it Conservative Review on purpose, to specifically troll what National Review had become. All right. And this is even before David French went through his gender reassignment surgery of the soul. Okay. And so this was specifically because it had just become Mitt Romney Inc. And he went out and he specifically recruited people like Gaston Mooney, who's now the president of the Blaze, who was Jim DeMint's top staffer, and DeMint was the number one conservative in the Senate at the time. People like me, people like Daniel Horowitz, people like Rubio, who's now the editor of the editor of the Blaze, the managing editor of the Blaze here. He specifically recruited these people because they were known for working against the party establishment and taking on the system and working for activists in primaries around the country. He specifically put a team together in order to start this media entity, went out and hired Mark Levin as his very first show. This was all done to attack the Republican Party from the right. And in response to the fact that he had helped raise untold millions of dollars for them to give them the House, and they did nothing in return for it. And it so pissed him off that he gave somebody like me a job. So no, I am not going to sit here and say there's no possible way you could so disappoint the guy who's the richest man who's ever lived, who now is in control of the largest information dissemination platform that's ever existed, and now also is assuming control of the largest purveyor of information and knowledge in all of human history, called AI. And the largest free source of it currently in existence on this mortal plane. No, I'm not going to sit here based on my own experience and say there's no amount of ways you could disappoint that guy that he doesn't turn on you later on. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And I will leave it at that. This would be among the all-time dumb... This would be how to end your party once and for all. But don't think the Republican Party is not capable of it, folks.
Next, we go to John Bellick, who says the primary reason Dan Bongino was tapped for the FBI was to get to the bottom of the assassination attempts. Whether or not the information is ever made public, Trump wanted to know.
I hope that's not true, so I'm going to sell. Listen. I think the events of July 13th of last year made it crystallized in my mind that there is some level of anointing on Donald Trump and that he is God's man for this time. Okay. And I'm fine taking all the heat for saying that because I believe it. Just like I'm fine taking the heat for everything I say because I believe it. But he's not so important that ultimately we the people matter here, and there's nothing populist about one person gets the answers that none of the rest of us get. No, I totally and summarily reject this, and I would hope Donald Trump would do the same. So,
it's a good answer.
Next is Skiers right. While he's no Ron Johnson, Senator Rick Scott is bucking the trend and actually getting better the longer he's in office. He's standing by his campaign rhetoric, not sliding back into the subversive rhino mode, and it's time to give him credit rather than dumping on him for his time as governor.
Okay. I mean, I'm a sucker for a redemptive story because his time as governor sucked. All right. So, but if you want to afford that level of grace based on what you're seeing, I'm open to it. Okay, I'll buy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Next is Jeff Baer. College football is a flower. Greg Sankey is Roundup. Greg Sankey being the SEC's commissioner.
That's great. Roundup. Oh, boy.
I will buy, but don't, as long as this is not anything unique to Greg Sankey, because you're exactly the mark if you actually think that it's just Greg Sankey and otherwise everybody is an adult in the room and making the trains run out. I mean, no.
Which is exactly why I'm going to sell.
There's a million losers. Almost everybody involved in this is this.
In many respects, what's happening to college football is the same conversation as Congress and Doge and everything else we just discussed.
Yeah.
The worst decisions possible were made for many, 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 many years. And now we're at the place now where
we're making worse decisions to fix worse decisions.
Yes. But and there's just and so I just think putting it all on Greg Sankey, and listen, ain't like he doesn't go out of his way at times to make himself appear unlikable, but I think that's going way too far, so I'll sell.
Yeah.
But I love the analogy. It's funny.
Just like with video games in our earlier conversation, no one will get off this ride. They will complain about the ill effects of porn while watching the porn. There are solutions, and almost nobody will take them. And it has to do with going back. Yeah, well, can't do that. Too much money. Genie's out of the bottle. Almost everybody who complains about this is a far greater part of the problem than actually caring about what the solution really is.
Okay, you guys ready for this one?
Probably not.
Jonathan has the top 4 most ordered hot dogs at the Congressional Memorial Day Cookout.
Oh, no.
Number 4, the Big Mike. 2 all-beef Franks with sriracha sauce. Burns coming and going.
Oh, gosh.
Todd?
Man, I don't know.
The Big
I really like hot dogs.
Number 3,
I'm getting hungry.
Number 3, the Lindsay, a Vienna sausage topped with sauerkraut.
Come on,
Perfect
man.
blend of wet and sloppy.
Come on, man.
I'm so conflicted right now.
Do you want to keep going?
These actually look like something.
As Lindsey Graham would once said famously, might as well finish.
Number 2, the K Street special, a veal dog topped with guacamole. You crave something young and from south of the border.
No.
That is bad.
Brutality.
You do not.
Absolute brutality.
I like guacamole. You do not put it on hot dogs. Stop it.
Who was that, Jonathan?
Jonathan, yeah.
Jonathan, I am appalled. That is depraved, and I buy.
Number 1, the grand old pairing. A raw dog with American cheese, perfect for wrapping yourself in America while letting Chuck Schumer run the grill.
I find this to be borderline degenerate.
Yes.
But I buy. Yes. I buy.
Now for something completely different, Jeremy LaForce says the 90s is the best overall decade of music. Country, rock, alternative, pop, R&B, and hip-hop were better in the 90s than in any other decade.
I'm going to sell.
Sell.
Yeah, I'm going to sell.
I wanted to take his thing seriously, so I was taking it genre by genre. I would agree country was better in the 90s. I agree with that. Compared to what ended up happening to hip-hop, I would agree it was better in the 90s as well. But what were the other genres he named? Alternative didn't really exist,
grunge is alternative.
Yeah, that's alternative. That's a 90s specific phenomenon. So, I agree on
Pop
country, hip hop. and alternative because it's a 90s specific.
Rock was not better.
Rock was not better. Pop was not better. So I agree on 3. Well, let me put it this way. I agree on 2. I disagree on 2. And one of them, alternative, is a uniquely 90s phenomenon, right? So there's no previous decade to really compare it to. It is a musical movement that is, organically tied to that decade. So I'm 2, 2, and 1. What does that make me, guys? A buy or sell?
It'd have to be a sell.
Okay, sell it is then. But I wanted you to know, Jeremy, I did take it seriously, unlike these two. I don't hate you. They do.
Next, Paul says, Lindsey Graham is confused to find out that the big, beautiful bill is something he has to vote on and not someone he swipes right on.
Oh, 100% that's happened already. A couple times. 100%.
Agreed.
Yeah, bye. Well said. Yes.
T-Money says, Elon keeps bringing attention to the population decline, not for altruism, but to justify the future use of robotic labor.
That's dark, man. That's dark. I'm going to say for now, I'm going to sell on that. But again, I don't know his future arc. I don't know what happens. The Incredible Hulk man has been Savage Hulk. He's been Smart Hulk. He's been Professor Hulk. He's been the Incredible Hulk. He's had numerous different iterations throughout the course of his character arc, So I don't know what Elon's ultimate character arc is, but for now, I will sell that's not true.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to sell, and you can resent it all you want to, but as long as you are not having children as males and defaulting to the cipher world of playing video games all the time and not wanting to engage in the duties of citizenship or manhood, who the hell are you to complain? You're going to need robot overlords if you won't stop doing that, and you show no intention of doing it.
By the way, I wanted to give a shout out to Melissa, who just sent me a note. WASP 2-hour shows, braving possible carpal tunnel syndrome. Thank you for your service. Thank you, Melissa. She gets me. She gets it. Thank you, Melissa. Oh, wrong answer.
So I'm selling that.
That's perfection. Sorry. Sorry about my blasphemy.
We'll get to the rest in the overtime. I'm sure there's some good ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm selling this. I'm selling it.
You're selling this one?
The Elon robotic labor thing. Because he's also Antonio Cromartie Hulk, too, because he's got a ton.
Antonio Cromartie Hulk.
We're so screwed.
Great Antonio Cromartie Hulk.
Screwed.
But think about it. The guy that keeps siring out of wedlock kids is more outspoken about Malthusian ethics than 90% of America's pastors are, man. Think about that.
Do they have video games?
Yes. Massive screw up on my part over the weekend for Noah's graduation party. And Amy's trying to be nice and gets all the drinks together for Noah's grad party, and she's got these inflatables that have ice in them, okay, that we're going to put all the drinks in. All right. So I go out to we go out to break out the ice. First time we put the pick through the ice to break it up, what do you think ends up happening?
You go into the inflatable?
Goes right into the inflatable, pops the entire thing. Okay? And then the other half of my brain was like, hey, moron. Have you ever heard these things called coolers? And you've got a couple of really nice ones sitting in your garage. How about you go get those? And you would have saved yourself this entire hassle. Okay? Some people think I'm smart. All right.
We need
true story that happened last.
You
need
a reality
show.
Weekend. I mean, if we can just talk coattails for a second, there's gold in them hills. That's gold, Jerry.
Oh gosh. Unlike the Osbournes, everyone will be able to understand what I'm saying. They just won't be able to understand what I'm doing. Okay. Why is he doing that? I have no idea. I don't know. Makes no sense. All right. Our friends at Taiga Coolers hooked us up with a couple of really nice coolers. And, again, my wife tried to do something nice, take something off my list, and I ended up ruining it because I, didn't deploy the best weapon we had, okay, right from the jump. All right. They're 100% American made, built for people who believe in self-reliance, craftsmanship, good old-fashioned freedom. They've been partners on our show for several years. They're fans of the Blaze. They're patriots like you. They can also customize your cooler with a company logo, team colors, family names, scripture verses, patriotic designs, so that it's also kind of a part, like your family crest, a part of who you guys are, particularly this time of year. And by the way, that kind of branding makes for great corporate gifts as well. All right. So if you want to make America cooler again, they'll put that on a cooler for you, by the way, if you want. All right. You can do that right now with our friends at Taiga Coolers. All right, go to TaigaCoolers.com, Taiga for TaigaCoolers.com. Get your custom cooler built your way by folks who still believe in faith, family, and freedom, or just get a plain old cooler that's really cool and really sturdy and really well made. All right, and make sure to use the code Steve for 10% off, and that'll let them know that I sent you there as well. Again, TaigaCoolers.com, Taiga for TaigaCoolers.com. Use the code Steve for 10% off. All right, let's bring in the weekly prophet of woe and lamentation himself, Daniel Horowitz. Good to see you, brother. Hope you're back on the mend. How's your voice doing?
Thankful to God for every day that I got some voice left, that I don't sound like Bobby Kennedy, but I got to use it appropriately.
All right, well, let's just get right to a couple of main events right now. Okay, let's and I mentioned two things to you this morning, and I forgot the third. We should actually probably start with the one I forgot to tell you about, give you the heads up on. All right, the announcement made yesterday by Jay Bhattacharya, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Marty Macri about the COVID jabs. All right, and I really thought this had become a real point of division within Maha, and it was essentially mismanaging a coalition we would not have won this last election without. And so this is a big move for them, in my view. I know people can disagree whether it goes far enough or not, but just in terms of the political craftsmanship here, I went and thought about this on the show yesterday, Daniel, and I came up with, it took 4 years for the religious right after it got Reagan elected, 4 years to get its first signature win. That's when he enacted the Mexico City policy for the first time. That was 4 years later. The Tea Party really never had any signature wins. Maybe the closest was the sequester. It took them about 2 years, and then that was just completely undone, and that thing was taken over by grifters, within 5 minutes, and so here we are. So you can make an argument that, hey, it can be sloppy and messy when you're building a movement and learning how to govern, but this is a faster signature win as a disruptive coalition than we've seen the previous iterations of this on the right. But what are your overall thoughts of the decision, how long it took to get here, the aftermath, et cetera?
So I was going to praise it, actually, but I wouldn't quite frame it like that, meaning that's something you measure, let's say, a long-standing thing that you would rescind so expeditiously, such as maybe the legacy vaccines. This is obviously a new, transparently harmful one. It had to go. And thankfully, this was, the culmination of so many years worth of work. It really is good news. What I think people were criticizing, Steve, was 2 weeks ago, Marty Macri and Vinny Prasad came out with a new guidance in the New England Journal of Medicine that was a little bit, dare I say, subversive in what it was doing. Yesterday, clarified that they left pregnant women out. They said they're going to take children off the vaccine schedule. It's still on the website, but hopefully that will be taken down. So this is genuinely a half a loaf that you want to take, not a subversive loaf. And this is very good news. The other point I would make is that, Steve, how much news did it even make? I just want to say something. A lot of people think that, we can't do this, or we can never get away with that, or politically this is not feasible. We live in times where it calls to rise to the moment, and you'd be surprised with what you could accomplish. And honestly, it barely made a drop in the bucket. The left didn't even complain about it. So I'm happy about it, but I'm just saying, I don't want to hear that we can't do the rest because somehow that's not politically feasible. It totally is. There's reasons it's not being done, and that's fine. I half is good. Hopefully we can go more. But I just want to note the left barely made a peep about it.
All right. We've talked about Musk on this show quite a bit the last couple of days on various fronts. All right. So Rather than add my own commentary to it, I'm just going to leave it to you open-endedly. On some level, it does appear that Musk has been demoralized, or maybe he's trying to repair his image a little bit because he's taken a huge hit. Maybe it's a combination of both. But I thought the answer that Trump gave this morning in response, I don't think he would have, maybe you'll disagree, I don't think he would have given that kind of answer his first term. I mean, the first term messaging was just hammer meets nail. That was a very nuanced, polished response to Musk's comments of disappointment. So he didn't take the media bait to immediately go thermonuclear in response. But what are your thoughts on this entire episode right now as it relates to the big, beautiful bill, and Musk particularly?
So let's start with Musk. You and I talked about this at the beginning of Musk's ascendancy, that we felt, look, a guy that wealthy and in charge of so many top companies, he's going to be complex as a person. There's obviously a lot at work there. But I think you and I both said at the time, we felt that he did genuinely feel like he was a man with a mission. And he did believe his own talking points. Okay, it doesn't mean that there aren't other issues at play, but he genuinely felt that he was in position to cut spending and there's a need to do it, and he really wanted to do it. And he was retweeting me during that December CR fight. This thing is horrible. You know, the first thing you do, you come back, you spend $300 billion more and don't offset it. And then Trump sort of attacked it from the left and said, well, actually, he should have thrown in the debt ceiling. And he was quiet for about a day, and then he's a little bit confused. I think what happened over the last number of months is that he sensed that a lot of people weren't serious about their own rhetoric.
And so why am I sitting here taking on all this water for people that aren't going to respond? Yep.
I also feel
because a good businessman recognizes a dying investment. Is that what you're saying? So you jump before you take a bath, right?
Exactly. And a lot of people are saying, yeah, Daniel, that's because Congress sucks. Well, they do. But if you're the viceroy and you have the keys to the castle there, you're not going to just quit because Congress is being annoying. Clearly, I think there's, as always, competing voices. Some people like it, thrive in it, or tolerate it. He was just like, look, you know, you're going to give me the keys to the castle or not. And clearly, I think Trump had a good relationship with him, but he has a good relationship with other people as well. And I think that burned him out a little bit. But the bottom line is he was dead serious about this. He was like, look, we need to reduce the deficit, and everything you're doing at the end of the day, you could kick, scream. No, it's a tax cut. It's a tax provision. It does this, it does that. But in totality, are we dramatically reducing what we said was biblical levels and intolerable, or are we actually adding to it? And the answer is we're adding to it. And I think that's why he not just criticized the lack of rescissions or codification of Doge spending, but also the reconciliation bill as well.
Real quick, as a corollary to this, Marjorie Taylor Greene said that she was given a draft of a bill this morning to codify the Doge cuts as a standalone piece of legislation. Your thoughts on that?
Oh, I mean, that's been around for months. That's the $9.3 billion package, NPR, PBS. Most of it is, I believe, USAID. So that's been in the works for a while. I mean, I don't think the legislation was drafted, but the, I guess the outline from OMB was given to Tom Cole, the Appropriations Committee chair. It hasn't been done until now. Now,
is this
even if it is,
are they maybe responding to some of Musk's comments? Do you think? Are they concerned about that?
So I think, Steve, this is a really good week. You know, tying back into the, taking children off the childhood schedule for COVID vaccines, pregnant women. This is a nice week, Steve, that we're seeing they're responding to pressure, and I think that this is my national anthem, as you well know. Ask and you shall receive. And I think what happened was it wasn't really on Trump's mind. His OMB director put it out. But like I said, no one that was obstructing it ever got the Chip Roy treatment. So maybe now they will, and hopefully they will. Now, just keep in mind, that package is $9 billion. It's a good start, but you know,
if we can't do 9 billion of entities who are all aligned against us and hate every single one of us, then That's a drop in the bucket, and it's all money going to our sworn enemies, all right, who would imprison us all in an instant if they could. Then what the hell are we even doing here? All right, so...
But Steve, I mean, Roger Wicker... Oh.
No, go ahead. Finish your point.
I was going to say, Roger Wicker's the Senate Armed Services Committee chair. He supports it. I tried to get rid of him last year in a primary. He got an endorsement. I mean, again... This is the problem. Like, something's got to give. You either got to ignore the courts, got to codify in Congress, got to pressure the rhinos, or
you're right.
Make the right choices.
You're right. They've exhausted the extent of, and I give them credit for doing it. They've exhausted the extent of executive only power. We are at the juncture now that some paradigm shift will have to be imposed in one of these other branches.
Is recognizing it.
Yep. All right, before I have a follow-up question on Musk, a word about our friends over at Deace Medical. Right now, you can add ivermectin to your Deace case for just $1. That's a prescription medication that won a Nobel Prize in 2015. That was taken away from people maybe right at the moment they needed it the most. You can add it for just $1, and it doesn't stop there. Once you've ordered your first case through Deace, you can save $50 on the second one or on a kid case. Remember, you can also expand your cases with more customizable options beyond ivermectin as well, just to make sure that your family is ready for the next time. That can never happen here happens here. The next time they say, hey, a drug we just gave a Nobel Prize to, it's just horse piece and it's terribly dangerous, but here's a former failed cancer drug with a black box warning that'll fail your kidneys. Take that instead. The next time they try that crap, make sure that you're ready. I go to Deace.com to make sure you're ready. Jase with the Deace case. Deace.com, enter the code Deace at checkout for a discount on your order. That's Deace.com, code Deace at checkout for a discount on your order. All right, last thing before we run out of time, Daniel. I gave this audience an analogy of the danger of demoralizing Elon Musk, and I used the logo behind your shoulder there, okay? That you and I, this company of Conservative Review, was founded by a guy that doesn't have Elon Musk money, but more money than you and I will ever see in our lifetimes. And he had been one of the top bundlers for the Tea Party wave of 2010 for John Boehner. They kept none of their promises to him. They betrayed him on every front. And so he's like, screw these people. I'm going to go out and form the most right-wing based platform media entity that's ever been had to just take shots at the Republican Party from the right. And he went out there and hired guys like you and me to do it. Okay? So I think that's analogous to the potential danger zone of taking a guy who now owns the largest platform for the dissemination of information the world has ever seen, has more money than any person in the history of the world, and now is about to perhaps control the largest oracle in the history of the world that's available for free use in his own AI. Turning that person who you coaxed into alliance and then turning him against you. You and I have personal experience with what can happen when you take a man of means and make him and disappoint him to that extent.
You know, you just got down to the original sin of politics. Mm-hmm. It's that there is no money on the right. So you can't afford to suddenly get the richest guy in the world come your way, have a midlife change, transformation in his ideology, and again, maybe he's not exactly where you and I are on everything, but I do think he had some core beliefs, and cutting the deficit was one of them. Yeah, I mean, you better believe you can't do it. It's not just the PACs he set up. Remember, you can't put a price tag on his purchase of Twitter.
No doubt.
And what that
it's in revolution. That's why I compared him to Gutenberg. I mean, he's the Gutenberg. If you know the history of the West, regardless of your religious persuasion, I mean, Martin Luther's in a shallow grave next to William Tyndale and John Wycliffe, if not for Gutenberg. But he gave him the platform to get around Rome and get his message out, and that is what Musk did for Trump. He gave him the platform to get around the system that had shunned him and everything else to get his message out. No doubt about that.
And Steve, I would just say one more point to close this up. It's emblematic, not just at the donor level, but also at the base voting level. There's a lot of new converts that came over for various reasons, this hobbled together coalition because things were so bad. But at some point, if you don't deliver, you're going to squander that once in a lifetime opportunity. I know you talked a lot last year about young people needing to buy a home. This is a very big problem. Right now, there is nothing on the horizon that I see that's going to solve that. It's only going to get worse with this bond market interest rate trap. And again, that gets back to whether you like tax cuts or not, you're going to pay for it in the spending and the housing a lot more. And we got to deal with that. And you're going to lose these voters forever.
Great stuff, my friend. Appreciate it. Thanks for fighting through with that voice. Get better, okay?
Take care. Thank you.
You got it. You got it. All right, gentlemen, your thoughts here in the final minute. What do you think?
Well, I think Daniel was right at the beginning about when you started off talking about COVID and the shots, and that you can do things and nobody's losing their mind. Well, part of that is because you're doing a lot of things at once, but also because you're doing a lot of things at once and keeping the left on their heels. It also guarantees you're not going to succeed at all things at once. So there's trade-offs in this whole thing. I'm just simply saying, on the trade-off side of things, many of them are frustrating, but I'm still betting, and I'm vinegar guy. Right now, the trade-offs there's more winning than losing going on.
I agree with that overall, 100%. Yep.
You know, that even in a golden era of politics, I'm sure that it always feels like. Let's go back to the 80s. I'm sure there were always days that it felt like, oh, we could be doing more. Oh, we're not winning enough. But that's politics. When things are going your way, most of my life, things have not been going the way that I would like them to go. So yes, more winning than losing right now. Is it where we would like it to be? Is it where we think it could go? No, but we'll let it play out.
Well said. Romans 8:28.